Hello, everyone. This is Kara from Kara Tarot. I'm going to be going through some landscape decks, comparing them to Rider-Waite-Smith. I have to tell you to start with that Han from Simply Ham has been filling me with Mo, and that's Mo as in FOMO is fear of missing out, and Mo is missed out because she's been going through the majestic world, majestic lands, majestic world, I think it is. The tarot that is absolutely my cup of tea, and I am into landscape decks right now, and I have been for a while. And um, the the tarot of place or landscape, um, and I missed out on that one, and it's a gorgeous deck, and she did a deep dive on it, and so she has a couple videos about it, and every time I saw it, I cried. No, not really, but and then there are a couple other landscape decks have come out recently. This is new this year. I mentioned this in my mid-year tarot tag as a deck that was new, and Happenings by Chance said she wanted to know more about it. So here you go. And then this was just delivered 2 days ago. It was bought on a pre-order, and now Shandy, Suddenly Shandy. I'm sorry, people, if I'm getting all of your tags wrong. I'll figure them out and put them on the screen. And Robin's Reflections. I've mentioned this. Robin just did a really, she started a video with this one and did a very nice job on this. And then the Tildwyck, which I've had for, I guess, close to a year now, so still fairly new to me, because it's definitely about locations. And so I had a couple other decks that I considered. I definitely considered Peculiar Pathways, but then I realized it's like I consider that to be about location because I read the background so much in that. And someone asked me about, Moonrain asked me about whether directionality was useful in that. And I do find Peculiar Pathways to be very good for directionality in the background. The foreground black and white images like are the prime focus, but then if you're entering into the card, the background becomes what you work through, and I find a lot of directionality in that, not necessarily in the foreground, although sometimes I do in that too. So anyway, that's how I made these choices. Let me go through these. This is The Wisdom of Place, Elements of Sacred Landscapes, Tarot Deck Cards and Guidebook by Elizabeth Boltz and Chip Sullivan. Now, someone told me that there actually was a book first, and then this deck came out, which makes sense. This is one of my Rider-Waite-Smith decks. I highlighted this in one of my monthly purchase things. It's a very inexpensive version with black borders, which I really like. And it was only about $26, a nice box, velvet bag, guidebook, which is, your kind of your standard guidebook. So anyway, this is what I'm using for comparison with these because I'm going to go through them card by card. So this could be long. The Mindscapes Tarot, which again, I said it was on pre-order. I just got it 2 days ago, and it looks like a lot of people just got it 2 days ago because a lot of videos are coming out about it. These are all oil pastel drawings drawings, oil pastel drawings of locations. And so it's very much about the location space, the landscape. If there are people, like here, there are 2 little animals. If there are people in these, they are like this. They're very incidental. And because it's pastel, they're not particularly clear. And then speaking of not clear, there's the Tildwyck, which has an absolutely useless guidebook, which I have trashed before, and I will continue to trash because the print is so absolutely tiny. It is, and it's in white on a dark background, which is harder to read, and it is in much of the book italicized. There's the even tinier, it goes from tiny to tinier. Absolutely useless, as some person commented. I think it was Tammy Pie said it's a waste of a tree, and it really is. And so, but I love the artwork. And Tammy Pie did a deep dive on the Tildwyck, which I recommend. She did about, I think, 5 videos on it. So that got all of my shout outs out of the way, hopefully remembering people's names. I'm bad with names at the best of times. So, and this is the 10th anniversary Tildwyck. This has been out for quite a while, and I understand that the person who created it has died, and a family member has made it available again in this 10th anniversary. So, despite how much I hate, loathe, and despise the guidebook, did I make that clear enough how I felt about it? Despite that, I'm still happy I have it. I think I'm starting to. It is blurry. It is blurry by nature. It's supposed to be kind of dream landscapes. And I've always worn glasses since I was 7 years old. My vision is poor. I have bifocals normally, and then for my harp playing, I have a specific distance reading glasses for my music stand. And then when I wear those, if I'm playing in an orchestra, I cannot see the conductor clearly, but I can see the conductor well enough to see his motions. So, but if he's making a face at me, I definitely can't see that. And that as happens in rehearsals, if you've ever played in an orchestra. Like some conductors like to lift their eyebrows to you at a certain point, and it's like, I wouldn't see that. So this is the layout that I'm going with today. So again, I said Tildwyck's book is useless, so we're just going to get rid of that. The Mindscapes book is useful, and I might refer to this. It mentions each card has a sigil, which I'm not into at all, and it has astrological signs. The cards have keywords, planet and zodiac, element, symbols within the picture, a nice write-up, and then an action. It's either an action or a journal prompt. It changes. Like there's a journal prompt, affirmations. So it has many different things, and I love that. You know, I love quotes, and I love other ways to think about the card, other entrees into the card. So the fact that it has a variety of things is very interesting to me. And then the write-ups are kind of poetic, sort of a rumination. Oh, speaking of which, before I move on too far, just yesterday, I posted sort of a brief rumination on one of the Tildwyck Tarot court cards. I have a couple of things that I try to do every day on Instagram, and then a fourth thing that varies. And I liked that so much that it was kind of a rumination on the positives and negatives of it. Was the Knight of Cups, and on him in relationship to the room that we were being shown in the card. and what he could mean in your life positively and what he could mean negatively. And I liked that enough that I'm considering doing that with at least the court cards of the Tildwyck and continuing that. We'll see. I'm not sure, but that's something I might, if not now, I might do at some other point. So this book is okay. Here's an issue. I just jammed that in there, and it's not coming out because there's nothing inside to weigh it down. This book is not particularly useful. It does not fit in the box either. This is the Rider-Waite Smith, the inexpensive Rider-Waite Smith. Can't make too many complaints because it's inexpensive. It was, I think, $26 on Etsy with that whole little package. And then the Wisdom of Play, excuse me, Wisdom of Place that spurred this whole thing, really. And notice I have little markings on the guidebook. The Wisdom of Place is probably the most far-flung of these. Oh, and the Wisdom of Place has a little drawer, and then the cards are inside another box. So it's a box within a box, and it's an orange box inside of an orange box, and I like that because I do like orange. So I'm keeping this nearby. I will be looking at this. Let me go through this a little bit. The suits are changed. The suits are water, air, wood, and earth, which I would probably, for ease, I would call the earth suit stone, probably. But it isn't just that. I mean, it starts off with caves. And then the wood is more about growing, things that are growing. They're not always wood, or not always something that I would consider wood. And what I'm going to do, as I said, is I'm going to go through these with the Rider-Waite Smith, just card by card, kind of comparison, contrast. I think I need to move that. So I had to start by ordering up these decks because some of them I've already used a little bit and I had to reorder. So the one that is the most abstract and the farthest afield is the Wisdom of Place. And here, for just the Green Man, all of the titles are different, and the majors are a problem. I'll just cut right to the chase. So they'll have the numbers remain the same, and they are in the same order of the usual majors. But so they'll talk about what that represents. For the Green Man represents a search for wisdom, a place, faith in the future. He's poised to step off the precipice. So you can see that the interior imagery is the same, but not necessarily matching anything on the card. So the meaning is the same. And then it has personal words of wisdom, personal, environmental, and creative. And the creative, again, is kind of a to-do, but also a mindset. Creative, explore the border regions where wild nature and human nature coexist. That's more of a tangible. This is consider design as a process, not a product. That's more of a mental. So you can sort of see how that these are the suit markings, so that's the major. If anything, again, the other thing with Tildwyck is that it is, you have to be able to read this, and the reason my jury is vacillating right now is because with my eyesight, I'm finding I often need a magnifying glass for the titles as well, because they are part of this misty obscurity of it. There is another landscape deck that, one more shout out, shout out to Ravneet at Winds of Reflection. And she has been showing a landscape deck recently that I did consider instead of this one, since Majestic Earth is no longer available. Um, if anyone has Majestic Earth and doesn't really care for it and wants to go to a loving home, here I am. Just putting that out there. So Ravneet has one that is more, it's a little stronger graphics, more modern art. These are more of a classical style. It's the one that Ravneet has a style that's kind of more like this. It's more like poster art with a defined color blocks. And I did consider that. I like that too. As I said, it's not that the landscapes look like the landscapes here. They are definitely definitive, their own thing as far as the landscapes that they portray. But, um, but they're more in this style and very clear. This is being oil pastels. It's a little fuzzier. So we've got clear or clear, clearer, fuzzy, and fuzzier. Because this is almost an architectural style. Oh, and that was the kind of architecture of space is the other one. And I will mention a deck that Kathy at Nothing So Strange clued me into, which is Wild Enchantments. And this is one that they worked on these together. The card, this is a book with cards. So it's, first of all, it's an oracle deck, not a tarot deck. But this is, the book came first with these absolutely gorgeous illustrations, but they have this sacred geometry integrated into each one of the cards. I've shown this before. Everybody raves about it anytime they see it. I highlighted it on my Instagram for almost a month. And that one deals a lot with knowing natural herbs and foraging. And it's gorgeous and fascinating. It's way over my head. It's way over my head. And then it's one of those, one day I might study that. I'm at the point now, maybe it's because I'm a caregiver, and so the stress level is high, and there are no days off ever. I'm at the point where I'm not sure I can trust my memory about much of anything. So whether I would, at this point, take on foraging, that might not be safe. Okay, enough of my beginning here. So now we can just kind of go through the cards. So this is the Fool. This is called the Green Man here. I might have to take a break because I've been having trouble with my shoulder and my arm from lifting my mother so much. The Magician. Here it's called the Biosphere. The High Priestess. Here you see they do incorporate this into the doors of perception and the pomegranates. Complete different envisioning of the High Priestess here. And here we have kind of an Egyptian motif. Empress. I think this is very identifiable as the Empress. This one perhaps not so much, although I think it's beautiful, cool green. Again, more of an Egyptian. This actually has the goddess with the many breasts. I don't know her name. And so this is an outdoor garden space, and it's one of the things I love about the Tildwyck is they're not all interior. Emperor, organic proportion. Now they will talk about what that is in the book. Again, we have the Egyptian references here. The Great Wall as the emperor, and this study as the emperor. The Hierophant. Now, this is sort of a Greco-Roman Baroque representation of the Hierophant. The geometer, and so right away you'll see these are surprisingly in close sync with the Rider-Waite-Smith. These can be a bit more afield, literally out in a field, and then these are just way out there in terms of understanding that as the Hierophant. The Lovers. So that's much more esoteric, less literal view of the Lovers. And this is the Green Woman, is the name of that card. We interpret her reemergence into the world and her union with the Green Man as symbolic of renewal and restoration. Okay, so we have Justice here. Yeah, so this one is... So here's Fortitude. And this is about a balanced system. So again, because it's not linear, you could really read this as either. This is hydraulic, and the one that's 11 is not really. So that's just something if you're going to work with these cards, you have to come to your own feeling about that. Oh, and I had the Hermit there, sorry. That was the Fortitude. Deep Ecology. So I think this one, for the most part, is the easiest to read in terms of you could just pick it up as a Rider-Waite-Smith. Second would be this one. And then ones like this, it's pretty easy. You could identify that as the Wheel of Fortune. Others, not so much. The idea of justice as a mirror, I think, is just beautiful. Certainly right now, justice is a mirror of who we are as a collective, and it's not very pretty. This one made me infinitely sad. This, the Hanged Man as a polar bear with this dwindling ice flows. This one is quite much more literal. Rider-Waite-Smith. And then this is Axis Mundi, which I looked up, and it makes sense with the Hanged Man. I'd say if you're going to use this as a tarot, in some respects it reminds me of the Hexen 22, is that you really have to get into the system, which I don't have, by the way, and which I will never have. It's too outre for me. But I saw Simon's The Hermit's Cave. I saw his talk about Hexen 22, and I had seen it previously, and just didn't. It's one thing. It has a lot of modern references, which isn't my bag, as you know, and it's just a lot to take on board. And I tend to like cleaner things. This is an anomaly for me. I really got it to kind of go along with this as landscape decks, and then I realized that this is kind of fits this tarot of location idea. This may be the most beautiful death card. It looks, reminds me of Gettysburg. And I think that's the illusion, an old battlefield that has transformed. There is a tower being struck by lightning, hidden way up there at this ecotone. And that's an ecological system between two different ecological systems at the meeting point, which you can see here. This is quite literal. I mean, you would look at this and know immediately it's the moon, because it is about the cycles of the moon. Now, and this one actually has the little lobster there on the fireplace. I don't think these are dogs necessarily. I can't really see. This deck. There are some things I just simply can't make out what they are. And it's like, I can't make out what is here on the side. Even with a magnifying glass, I can't make it out. And so then it doesn't help me at all if it's just an obscure decoration. And I also, because of the depth of this, I have a feeling that there are things going on in this painting. Sometimes these are mirrors, sometimes they're paintings. But again, it's so small, even with a magnifying glass, I can't make it out. This would benefit by being a larger deck. There are decks that I do think just benefit from that. The sun, again, very clear here. We're clear everywhere. Judgment as a closed loop is fascinating. Judgment in the graveyard on the edge of a city. Now, this deck has a couple extra cards. The Catacomb, which had already shown on my Instagram. And the Great Work, which this is, it's not the cover image, but it's on the inside of the box. I think it's beautifully evocative. I didn't reorder these. Okay, we're gonna go to the wood suit. Some of these I haven't delved deeply into the book to even know how this relates, if it relates. As you can see, these are quite straightforward, and this is conceptually straightforward. To be fair, when I know this deck better, I may very well feel that a different suit works as the fire suit. Let me just look up right now. What is the 7 of this suit? Scrying circles. I just don't think there is a straight analogy with this deck for these lower suits. And that could make it very difficult to read with it as a normal deck. I had to take a break and now I'm coming back. Just continuing our walkthrough card by card of these landscape and location decks. And I think you can make your own determination. If you had this deck, do you think you'd ever get used to this with a different name? Understanding that it was this. One of the things that I have thought is that I very well might write 10 of Wands underneath here. And if that were the case, it wouldn't bother me. I could do that if I knew what it was supposed to be. But with the complete, like that even says the 3 Friends of Winter. You know, for a 10, it makes it difficult. And then there are no pages. That's beautiful. These I would get. These are immediately readable. These, not always. Ten of Staves, but I would be looking at that and thinking that that was coins. And again, no court names. They just continue with numbers. The Knight of Wands is the flowery mead. The Queen of Wands, Arcadia. I love this. A little greenhouse and canning shed in the woods for the Queen of Staves. And here a French horn. The Queen of Staves reminds me of my sister. She played French horn. And so these are just kind of hit and miss. The Sacred Grove, I would probably understand that as the King of Wands. But I really do think I would have to add the title. It does tell you that it's woods there. No, that's not. That's... Now, Aquia, I would definitely know as cups. There are other tarot creators that create decks that, to my mind, is like, it's not a tarot deck. It's a deck about something else in tarot form. And I really wish they wouldn't call them tarot decks. To me, several of John Matthews' decks are like that. It's like, this isn't a tarot deck. You've changed all the names. It's about this other topic. You know, stop trying to tell me that this is a tarot deck. And then there are others where I really like the way he intertwines concepts. I skipped that. That was the 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you're really interested in ecology, you're ready to go here. I mean, if you're someone that's interested in science and ecology and the environmental ecological systems, you're ready. You probably know more about this, and so it's not so far afield for you. For me, it's a real jump. My brother would probably like this, but not these. Love this. Beautiful, beautiful image. And isn't that beautiful? This image is usually more of what I see with the Nine of Cups. I often see that kind of cabinet image instead of the tens. So that's an interesting difference. Vernal pools as the Ten of Cups. Would I look at this without the title and understand that was the Page of Tides? Probably not. But it has a title, and that's clear. The court cards here all have either a mirror or an image or both of a face. So a portrait. It's kind of up to you to decide, is it a mirror where that person is looking in there and you're seeing them, or is it a portrait? And here we have that, the many-breasted goddess again, which does make sense to me as a Queen of Cups. These, she seems to be in the same location that the page was, but a different time of year. I definitely feel that the king cards do represent kind of the zenith of that concept, the way the king is supposed to. In this deck, I think it represents the zenith of that. Okay, now, is this, yeah, this is the air suit. This suit is the problematic suit for me in this deck. For every additional number, there is another mountain peak. And I don't think they're not, they lack the specificity that all the other suits have, to my mind. Equinox and solstice. Do you get this from that? Pardon me. And even this one, are you getting this? Yes, you've got the number, but are you getting any of this emotional stuff from it? I'm not in any of them. This is the only one where I'm getting the emotional. I definitely don't get this from this. Here, it's restful in that it's blue. It's kind of blue and foggy and restful. But these are the two that really, this is the one to me that really speaks to this. And I do like to go through decks. If it's supposed to be Rider-Waite-Smith, I don't care if it's not, like, this is based in it. These are based in it. They're not trying to be the same at all. But I think you have to say, is it in any way matching the emotional content of this. This has a fortress here and icy mountains. This is very obscure. This is one of the ones I just can't make it out. And it looks like it has a three of swords Marseille card in the image. Scent. I mean, there does seem to be some watery imagery here. Even here we get the travel here. We get the travel here by these bridges between the peaks. But do any of them have this feeling to them? That's, feelings are subjective and individual. Those are questions that I ask when I look at the deck. So this suit in this deck, I would have to read very much by the numbers, which is not, which I do, but it's not my favorite way to read. I usually want intuition along with it. So 8 portals for this, 8 of spires. Here we get the trapped in feeling. Even here we get a kind of hemmed in feeling. This, I'm getting a star from that. And again, I'm getting a star. We do have more darkness and the passion of emotions with the red. And this one definitely. Let's see, this one does have a 9. The Marseille 9 of Swords. So this one is Marseille based, which I don't think I knew until today, because I couldn't read the book. But with the order of strength and justice, and now seeing these Marseille symbols in the swords, now I know. And that might be why some of these don't speak to me the same way these do, because they're not based on this, they're based on Marseille. So personally, now that I know this, I would want to do this side by side with the Marseille deck and this deck. She has harps and storks, or flamingos, harps and flamingos, as well as a whole lot of reeds. Oh, that's the queen. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. There, they were out of order. I think they liked the sword suit a little better. I feel like the sword suit is really strong in this and not in this. And again, this is just its own thing. possibly, but you know, it's harps, so it might be my favorite card in that deck. I'm not feeling this for Queen of Swords at all. I would put the stag, I would think is the king. And here it's Dragon Vein. And I have no idea what that is. It's a line of energy that flows from the clouds and undulates across a mountain range, tracing the spine of a dragon. The vein continues downslope in meandering stream channels. Assessment of auspicious sites is informed by a deep understanding of the interrelationship between mountain and river systems. That's the explanation of what that is. Does that relate to the King of Swords? This is a case where I don't think it fully fleshes out that. And now we're finally at the Earth suit. I'm not getting 2 from this, and I'm not getting 2 from this unless it's those 2. There are 2 here and 2 there. I'm not getting, and of course I'm not getting it there. So if this is about working together, and here I'm getting 3 areas of the buildings of the stones. We've got our 3 here, but am I getting any of the underlying meaning here? I'm not. I'm actually getting a little more of the underlying meaning here for me. Again, that's so subjective, so personal. Now we have a large retaining wall here, which is definitely fits with this. We have a astrological wheel in this one. We have the 4 corners, and here we have a maze, which I think that works very well for that. For cards like this, it's often a much more dilapidated. Like here, this old chair is ruined. But again, because these are very difficult to make out, you don't get those at once. These hills seem to be smiling here. I don't think that fits with this. We have a person outside of the temple here. We are getting more of a community feeling there. And this is a communal. The fungi webs, that's definitely a communal thing. I may be harder on this suit because I'm a Virgo, and the Earth suit is one that I love so much here. Interestingly, a lot of these are speaking to me more strongly than these. I have a little person up in a lit tower late at night there. I don't get this one at all. Again, maybe it's a Marseille thing with this one. So 8 of coins. Again, I would have to look that up to see if I think it helps me understand why that was chosen. Again, I don't really get. I guess here we have an industrious person working and a ladder. A teeny tiny picture of somebody working in a field. I love the bridge for her. Some people talk about that there's a wall in this. I personally don't see a wall. To me, she's just standing in front of different bushes, and there could very well be a path behind her. People have talked about her being closed off in a walled garden, and I just don't see it. I do think of her much more as a bridge. How that fits here, I'm not sure, except this is now quite opulent. This has now become tiled and beautiful. Here we have a lot of possessions because we have all these trunks, again, outside of a locked door. I think that's more of a Marseille. Snakes are hard to miss. How that fits with this, I don't understand. The mounds, there are probably 10 mounds there because this one can be very literal in terms of the number, as can this one. But do I get this kind of feeling from this? Not at all. Not at all, unless this is finding a treasure here. Here we have the happiness of the ancestors there. I might get through this in an hour. So Page of Pentacles and Hedge Witches. Here, the rare person in here. This makes sense to me. Again, we have a trunk, this time open. Looks like a trunk. Maybe it's a wheelbarrow. This is my crush boy of the deck. He would take care of his horse. He would make sure that the stalls are prepared for his horse. That makes total sense to me. Here, I'm not seeing it. And I don't really get this either. Queen of Coins. interesting Persian carpet imagery echoed there. And here, Persian carpets in all of these. And last, the King of Pentacles, King of Stones. Certainly a lot of planning and money counting, material wealth going on here. And I like that this is so green. You know, as a Virgo, I like that that earth sign is so green there. So I learned that this deck is Marseille based, something I did not know about it before. So I would at some point want to go through this deck with next to a Marseille deck to see if that, if I find more synchronicity there. This, of course, was our traditional deck. As I said before, this is the card stock is not great on this. It's okay. It does, you know, it does feel that it has a core, but some of this pressing can be seen on the other side. It's that thin. Again, it was an inexpensive deck. It's fine. It would be a great deck to give to a beginner. And I personally like the black borders because I think they pick up the black line work. But then I like borders in general. It's rare for me to prefer borderless. Somehow it gives me, for me, it gives me something to like step through as I'm going towards it. This deck is very readable for me. Even the suits that I'm not crazy about, the air suit and the earth suit, I mean, that's almost, you know what, that's a third of the deck at least that I'm not crazy about in this Mindscapes, but still it's, to me, it's a very, very easy to read and very straightforward because it does have the titles. And to me, a lot of the emotional content is here that I get out of this. This one is just completely different. I really think this borders on, this is not, it's a study in the form of a tarot deck. It's a study of something else in the form of a tarot deck. And it isn't a deck that I don't think I would ever reach for just to read on its own. It's a deck that I might read next to this one to augment it. It's a deck that has these wonderful activities and thoughts. If to go for someone who is exploring their knowledge of ecology, their landscape knowledge, the architecture of geology, all of those things are in here. Would I ever pick it up just to do a tarot reading? Doubtful. Really doubtful. It just doesn't, not enough of it speaks to me of the original cards. This one definitely, it will be infinitely usable. Although, because of those two suits, perhaps not my favorite. This, for me, is a pathway deck. Because it's so hard for me to see, it requires more time, and it requires a magnifying glass. So, I know a lot of people they don't like this artwork, but for me, it's like one of the things it has going for it. It's this heavily outlined poster art from the turn of the century that is really clear. And even the bright colors speak very clearly. This one also has a really wonderful use of color. This, not so much. Sometimes I wonder about even, there isn't a consistency within the suits. Like there'll be this one-off card in the middle of the suit that has a completely, almost an entirely different color palette. Although they are, for the most part, color-coded. Again, there is not a direct correspondence in the suits of this deck either, because it is, instead of earth, air, fire, and water, it is earth, air, wood, and water. Yes, even though I've been going through it, it's not coming naturally. So we've got earth and wood, which would normally be the earth suit together. And I think, as I said, I think some of those air cards really represent fire more to me. So there's it doesn't work as well for me on a whole lot of levels. Do I find it interesting? Yes. It is, and I will say, it is the kind of thing I would not normally get at all if I were not exploring the landscape of the tarot. I probably wouldn't have gotten it. That's me. So I hope this has been an informative side-by-side deep dive for you on the landscape, location, place, the tarot decks. And of course, it's not all inclusive because there are the other new deck that just came out recently, I don't have, and the Majestic Earth I missed out on. Yes, I'm still crying about it. So I hope this was helpful to you. And if you are somebody who was interested in this, I hope that's helped you define whether it's something that you want to explore more or not. It has its place, and there are people that I'm sure it'll be. I forget her name now. I was watching her video, Robin's Reflections. I was watching her talk about this, and she was saying she would just rather study things in card form. So this has that going for it. If you want to learn this ecological stuff, here it is in card form. As I said, a book came first, apparently, but this is a card version of that. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope I'll get this edited and up sooner rather than later. Thank you. Have a great day.